Welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great night. In today's episode, what we'll be discussing the reason why Simone Fontecchio is no longer a member of the Detroit Pistons, the NBA Cup, and what group the Detroit Pistons got put in. And then we'll end the podcast with Jalen Duren and what he's been up to this NBA summer and why a lot of Detroit Pistons fans are up in arms over what he's actually doing. So let's start with the Simone Fontecchio news that did come out today. So Sky Sports Basket caught up with him. And if you guys want to check out this article, definitely do. You can translate it over to English so you can read it. Our guy, Muhammad, that is a part of our Detroit Pistons fans in our community, um, kind of took the most important parts out of the article discussing Simone Fontecchio. And if you guys do want to join our Detroit Pistons fans community on Twitter, I will leave it linked in the description below if you're watching live on YouTube. If you're an audio listener, I will link it in the description below if you guys want to check it out. We're almost at 2,100 members, and it's growing every day. There's a lot of Detroit Pistons fans, just like yourself in there, that just make content, posts, just talk basketball. If that's something you're interested in, definitely check it out in the description below, and you guys can join it. If not, no pressure. If you guys just want to listen to the podcast and not, talk to this crazy Pistons fans every day like me, then hey, man, more power to you. But let's get into this Simone Fontecchio stuff. Okay. So Simone Fontecchio told Italian press that he requested the Pistons to trade him. He mentioned that not playing in the playoffs was very tough pill to swallow for him. And he added Durant approached him earlier in the season and told him he tried to recruit him to Phoenix. Okay, so Simone Fontecchio went to the Detroit Pistons front office, Trajan Langen and company, and said, "Hey, I appreciate everything you've done for me. I did not like getting no playing time in the playoffs against the New York Knicks. I'd like to be traded." And the Detroit Pistons granted his request. He was dealt in the Duncan Robinson sign and trade during free agency a couple of days ago, and he'll be playing with the Miami Heat this season. I wish him well. But here's the thing, you guys. If you guys watched every game this season, or you watched the bulk of Detroit Pistons games this season, Simone Fontecchio wasn't the same player as he was under Monty Williams versus JB Bickerstaff. And I think there are a couple of reasons why he was not as consistent. I think the first thing we can just talk about right off the bat was the foot surgery he had right before the season started. Who knows if he had a healthy training camp getting ready for this past season. I think that you have to discuss that first and foremost. You can't ignore it. Having foot surgery is a really big deal. And for a player like him, he's a shooter. If your foot's bothering you when you're shooting, you're probably not going to make as many shots as you were when your foot was actually healthy. So that's the first thing. I think the other thing that I always come back to with Simone was there was way more structure this year under JB Bickerstaff where players had assigned roles and JB Bickerstaff had expectations for every player on this roster. I thought when we watched Simone under Monty Williams, there was no structure whatsoever. Players did whatever they wanted. They missed assignments defensively. They miscommunicated on offense. And we saw Simone Fontecchio in just a free-form offense under Monty Williams as like a second option next to Cade. Get a lot of touches, get a lot of shots. And we just didn't get to see that same Simone under JB. Maybe he was uncomfortable, playing backup power forward with, backing up Tobias Harris. That could be a possibility as well. But I think we can all agree he just wasn't consistent this year, you guys. He was very inconsistent. He would have games where he's hitting a couple of threes and everything's cool, right? And there are other games where he just had stinkers, laid an egg, like 3-4 games at a time. And it's just like, look at the box score. It's like 6 points, 5 points, 2 points. It just wasn't there. And not playing in the playoffs, I guess, was a tough pill to swallow for him. But I think JB Bickerstaff made the right choice. I really do. I don't really know how much better the Detroit Pistons would have been if Simone was out there in the playoffs. Leading up to the playoffs in April and going into May, Simone didn't have the best March or April. It was still very inconsistent. He'd have a game here and there where he dropped like maybe 10, 15 points, but it was just inconsistent. The fact that he didn't like not getting playing time, I can understand that from a player's perspective, but as Pistons fans, I think we can all agree it just wasn't there this season. He was probably one of the most inconsistent players that was getting routinely rotational minutes. And, maybe backing up Tobias probably wasn't what he envisioned because I see Simone more as a small forward than I do a power forward. I think he's tall enough to play power forward. I never really viewed him as a backup forward, but I wish him well in Miami. But I did want to kind of touch on that on the podcast with you guys for a couple of minutes. I just kind of found it funny that he requested a trade because he wasn't getting playing time and he was upset with that. Then the Kevin Durant stuff, like, okay. So Katie came to you and said, I tried to recruit you to Phoenix. Like, what was Phoenix going to give the Pistons, really? I mean, bull. Like, I don't know. Like, Phoenix had a bunch of bloated rosters. You probably would have just got a role player like a Monte Morris or a Tyus Jones or something like that. I think that's the reason why the Pistons didn't bite. But, I wish Simone well, man. I really do. He left a very respectful farewell message to Pistons fans, but this made me laugh today. I needed this laugh a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but good luck in Miami Tech. Hope you do well with Spo and Bam and Tyler Hero and all those guys. But hey, man, it's the nature of the business. Now we did get NBA Cup grouping. I mentioned at the top of the podcast. So the Detroit Pistons will be in the East B Cup. And the teams that will be in the East B Cup will be the Boston Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, the Orlando Magic, and the Philadelphia 76ers. And these NBA Cup games will be starting on October 31st, and all 30 teams will compete for the NBA Cup, with 8 teams advancing out of the groups into the knockout rounds, with the semifinals and the championship held in Las Vegas, December 13th and 16th. If you're an audio listener and you haven't seen the NBA Cup groupings, East A is the Hawks, the Cavs, the Pacers, the Raptors, the Wizards in the East A bracket. We already discussed the East B with the Pistons. The East C bracket is the Charlotte Hornets, the Chicago Bulls, the Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the New York Knicks. The West A bracket is the Timberwolves, OKC Thunder, Phoenix Suns, Sacramento Kings, the Utah Jazz. The West B bracket is the Dallas Mavericks, the LA Clippers, the LA Lakers, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the New Orleans Pelicans. And to end it with the West C bracket, you have the Denver Nuggets, the Golden State Warriors, the Houston Rockets, Portland Trailblazers, and the San Antonio Spurs. But kind of looking at the Pistons bracket, I think they have a pretty good shot to make some noise in the play-in tournament. I do. I also saw that Amazon Prime will be broadcasting some of these games. I don't know if you guys saw the commercial that Blake Griffin did with Chet Holmgren today. Blake is just a funny actor. I could really see Blake getting into some movies. But Amazon Prime, I know I got a little bit sidetracked there with Blake, but Amazon Prime will be broadcasting some of these NBA Cup games, which can't wait, man. I'm really excited just to see all the different production teams with NBC Sports, Amazon, ESPN, Inside the NBA with TNT. Kind of interested to see how that dynamic works at ESPN, but I kind of like the Pistons, bracket. One more time, if you guys didn't see the bracket for the Pistons, they'll be with the Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, the Orlando Magic, and the Philadelphia 76ers. So the final topic of today's podcast is Jalen Duren. Now I'm going to play some video for you guys. It's about 40 seconds of what Jalen Duren has been up to this season and what he's working on in the gym. So let's play the video. I swear, I've been doing podcasts for 2 years. I still forget to unmute my mic sometimes when I'm, playing a motion graphic or a video. I do apologize. So, Jalen Duren has been practicing mid-range jump shots and threes. Now, I think automatically what Pistons fans go to is Andre Drummond. The Andre Drummond summer videos of him knocking down threes. And I get it, but I think we can have a discussion of how it's different. How Andre Drummond didn't start practicing threes in the offseason until what, his sixth, seventh season in the NBA. Jalen Duren's going into his fourth. And it's not something that Jalen Duren has not worked on. I mean, Amari Sankofa of the Free Press says, he works on it after every practice with the bigs. All the bigs practice threes together. Friend of the show, Eric Vincent, he does a really good job of documenting a lot of the Detroit Pistons players, but he's documented Jalen Duren working on post moves, working on, little 15-foot, 12-foot, you know, jump shots, mid-range jump shots. And we've discussed it as well on the podcast with Jalen Duren. If he adds a mid-range jump shot to his arsenal, it opens up his game and it opens up a lot of Detroit Pistons in the starting lineups game around him as well. If he adds a good 12 to 15-foot jump shot, that's okay. I get why Pistons fans get annoyed with these videos because there's not a defender in his face. He's just working out right now with the guard whisperer who does a really good job of, training NBA players. I mean, he trains guys like SGA, Evan Mobley, Tari Eason. He's got a really big clientele. And, Jalen Duren's working with him with his jump shot, even stretching the floor. Like if Jalen Duren's a stretch, develops the ability to hit a three and becomes a stretch five, like that's really valuable for the Detroit Pistons. And I get a lot of Pistons fans want him to work on post moves. They want him to work on, um, hook shots. Just because a player does not post, defense, hook shots, um, you know, whatever, does not mean that they're not working on it. He just so happens to be posting mid-range jump shots and threes. And again, I know it's summer. It's July 9th as I'm recording this podcast. The NBA season is 2.5 months away before it even tips off. But I have no problem with Jalen Duren wanting to expand his game from the mid range. I have no problem with him shooting threes in the offseason. I just don't, because I think it's something that has been a work in progress for a couple of seasons. It's something that he's been working really hard on. And if you got a guy that can pick and pop with Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, I think that is very valuable. You have a very talented setter in Jalen Duren that has been learning dribble handoff offenses, with Cade, with Ivy, with the SAR, and others. If you have Jalen Duren, throwing a DHO pass to Cade, and then Cade passes it back and Duren's hitting a good 15, 17 footer, that's good. That's good. You have other options on this team to score the basketball. We all know when he gets around the basket, he's one of the most efficient players on this team of catching lobs and dunking. if you add a mid-range jump shot or a three-point shot to his arsenal, he becomes more dangerous. So again, I have no problems with Jalen Duren wanting to keep, practicing and developing his jump shot. I think the form looks fluid. I think it's way more aesthetically pleasing to look at than Andre Drummond's was. Andre Drummond's looked really unnatural. Jalen Duren's, to me, looks better, in my opinion. And also, his shoulders look huge. I think he gained even more weight. He's only 21 years old, you guys. I think the sky's the limit for Jalen Duren as a player. I really do. I'm really high on Jalen Duren. I know I was really hard on him last season when he wasn't, giving effort defensively for the first 25 games of the season. But, when he did play well, I gave him praise. That's just how I am. That's how I am as a podcaster. That's how I am as a content creator and a Piston fan. Just like you guys, like if they're playing well, I will give them praise. If they're not playing well, I will come up here and call them out and say, hey, you need to be better in this area. But man, like if he develops a jump shot, man, like that is just another element of his game that could really help the Detroit Pistons in the future. But let me know what you guys think of the Simone Fontecchio news coming out today that he requested to get traded because he didn't get any playing time from the Detroit Pistons in the playoffs. The NBA Cup grouping of the Pistons being grouped with the Celtics, the Nets, the Sixers, and the Magic. Do you think the Detroit Pistons have a good shot of coming out and possibly going to Las Vegas and winning the NBA Cup in December? And the Jalen Duren stuff. What do you think of Jalen Duren practicing three-point shots and mid-range jump shots this summer? I'll talk to you guys down below in the comment section. Like always, hope you guys are staying safe. Take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next podcast. Peace.